오야, 다치로 간가 짜시 데레 드니 드링한저. 오다 로르가 곰다 오디디 지그토네 만도야 팅고 스위스.
So, Tashidele, greetings to all Dharma friends. So, today we will continue with our stages of the path, the Lam Rim brief meditations.
드네 다 드리조 조데다 르마스나 모데 아니 다도 시라니가 노네 조 시라그차 뒤는 시라가 다 시라가 노네 자본도 또 많이 또 시라사 또 많이 거 같다 리디스 고무자이스.
So, today, in terms of the step of the Lam Rim, the step of the path we're going to cover, out of the two aspects of the path, method and wisdom, this is specifically, we'll be meditating on the wisdom aspect of the path, and we will be meditating upon the king of the wisdom practices, the practice of wisdom realizing emptiness.
어다 롱 예스도 쓰이나 이 대시 니네지 그요나 대시 인터프리타 시라 오늘 시라 조데 분이도 시라 사데 수비와레스 레스비와레스.
So whether we speak about ourselves, whether we speak about others in terms of trying to achieve happiness, we understand that the way to achieve happiness is to develop this wisdom, and that this wisdom is the wisdom realizing emptiness.
대용테네 녀다 체주칸디 지나요 거의 녀다 강가 로로스 마르스 롱 예모도 던도 스도 쓰이나 녀다 강가 로로 아니 녀모 녀모가서 와 녀모 눈을라요 테네 짜와짜와데 던저 마리바 사텔라테네 쇼와레스.
So also when we speak about ourselves or when we speak about others and we talk about the source of our problems, any problems whatsoever, we understand that those sources, the cause of those problems is the affliction. And the root affliction, the king of the affliction, is specifically this ignorance grasping at a self.
단저 마리바세네 다 네츠 예네츠 머시비 노네 다코 머시바 마제 파트네 예네츠 텔라파 루바타 데키르테네 주네 테네게 셈 지레스.
So when we speak about this ignorance grasping at the self, we could say that this is a mind that does not understand the way things really are. It is a mind that does not understand how things are. It is a mind of unknowingness. And due to this unknowingness, it reifies things, it exaggerates things, and so forth.
다 네츠 차라 간디지나요. 아니 머시바데 다 시소나 머시바도 롱메바 고면면로야 이자.
So whether we speak about a coarse phenomena or whether we speak about a subtle phenomena, if we have an unknowingness of that particular thing, once we give rise to knowledge about it, through that knowledge, the unknowingness will naturally be dissipated. And that is also the case here. So in terms of what we need to know here, we need to know that any sort of phenomena that we speak about, if we are able to understand its final mode of abiding, and if we are able to understand its final mode of abiding, we will be able to understand the way things really are. And through that knowledge, naturally, the afflictions will be rendered unable to function. And so when we speak about the way things really are or the ultimate mode of abiding, we are talking about their emptiness. And in terms of trying to understand this emptiness, we could say that there are two paths towards that. So in terms of trying to understand this a little bit, we can speak about dependence. When we speak about dependence or dependent arising, we understand that, any phenomena that arises, it arises in dependence upon other things coming together. For example, on an assembly of parts and the like. Through those things coming together, it arises dependently. And this gets rid of the idea of things being independently existent or static.
Ko de wo chi wa ina ane ti ba ha ko sana mati ba mai ba ta ha ko yung ko was mati ba mai ba ta ko sana mati ba me ba chi la tumba ni tuni chi so se ya res.
So, to put it in an easy way, when we understand that things arise dependently, we understand that they are not independent. And this lack of independent existence, that is what we mean by emptiness. Empty of that independent inherent existence.
O ta ti ya shu ji ne long ga de re. Shu ji ne chi ka re ina nga ro so no ge de la ko ro ge pe ru ngi ne ya ba ru ji ji ya ba chi no yung ya re. Ta nga ro so ko pa ru ji ji me ba za ne ro ya me ba. Ani ya so ya ta ji che na yo tani ha ko ya ji ya res.
And the other way to think about emptiness is to investigate how things appear to us. And whatever appearance we think, whatever appearance comes before us, we think that it exists in the way that it appears. The way to counter this is to understand that this appearance of it being something truly existent, existing from its own side and independent, is something mistaken. And if we investigate this, we will see that this appearance of independent inherent existence is incorrect. In fact, phenomena lack inherent existence. So now we will begin with a brief meditation upon this topic. So now let us just settle our body and mind and just think we are abiding in a relaxed state. So just like when we set down a glass of water that might have many particles within it, when we set it down and it remains still, those particles naturally settle to the bottom. Similarly, when we settle our mind, all of those discursive thoughts naturally settle. So just bring forth the thought thinking, I'm going to, in a stable way, engage with today's topic of emptiness through the practices of a brief analytical and brief placement meditations. So, from countless times in the past until now, whether I speak about the I or the self, whether I speak about others, any phenomena that I have cognized, I have thought that it exists in the way that it appears. I believe it exists in the way that it appears. Think, does it exist? Do things exist in the way that they appear to us? When things appear to us, they appear to us as existing from their own side, as existing inherently. But we understand that actually they do not exist in that inherent way. They don't exist in the way that they appear because they do not exist from their own side. They do not exist inherently. What is the reason that they don't exist from their own side? Because they are dependent arisings. All phenomena arise dependently. That object that we perceive through the lens of our attachment, that object that gives rise to our anger, they all arise on the basis of many factors coming together. They arise dependently. That object of our attachment, that object of anger, it gives rise to that false appearance. We have this false appearance that whatever that object is, it has arisen independently. But we understand it has not arisen independently. That's incorrect. If we check a little bit with our wisdom, we'll see, for example, that object of attachment. It doesn't exist in that solid, inherent way. It appears. It is an assembly of parts, of various parts assembled together. If we think of this physical form, for example, if we have attachment to our physical form, we understand it is a dependent arising from the perspective of this life, arising due to the joining reproductive substances of our father and mother. And if we think about its causes from previous lifetimes, it is arising due to karma and affliction. Therefore, that thing that we are attached to, it definitely does not exist. It does not abide in the way it seems to, through that lens of attachment. And if we take the object of our anger, for example, that person that we perceive as our enemy, that person we have difficulty with, we label them as completely negative, completely bad. But that's not the way they truly abide. Why is that the case? Because it is not true that they are 100% bad, because our mind creates this image of the enemy. That particular person is not an existent enemy from their own side. We take that further. If that person is really as negative as our mind perceives them, if they exist in that completely negative way that our mind is telling us, every single other person that person knows would see them as negative. But there are many who do not see them in that negative way. Therefore, we understand that our way of thinking could be mistaken. And because we can work at understanding how these things really are, the way they truly abide, there is no need to follow that mind of attachment, that mind of anger, grasping at those appearances which causes us distress, which causes us to be nervous and unsettled. So, for example, if we take as a main object the self or the I and we contemplate that, we can say, is there some pinpointable, essential existent self anywhere within those 5 aggregates: form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness? No, there is not. There is no pinpointable self to be found within the body, neither is there a pinpointable self to be found within the mind. Another example, we could see a tree or a shrub, but from very far away it looks like a solid sphere, a solid ball type of thing. However, as we draw closer and closer to that tree, we see that that seemingly solid sphere is not how it is at all. As we draw closer and closer, we see the details, the twigs, branches, and so forth, and we see that actually that solid sphere is an assembly of many different parts. Whether we talk about the self of ourselves, whether we talk about the self of others, if we try to find something pinpointable anywhere within the body and mind, there is nothing pinpointable at all. And then once that emptiness of that inherent existence arises, we have to meditate on that emptiness as much as possible. So we'll pause there. So that was a brief introduction to this meditation, and the more feeling one is able to bring into this, the more feeling one can have for this topic of emptiness, then the more one will see how what the true mode of abiding, the way things really exist of these objects is. And if we understand the way that objects are really abiding, the way things really are, then this mind of exaggeration, of reification, will be ceased. And similarly, once we see the way things really are, then these mental projections, right, all of this false thinking, nervousness, and so forth, because of that understanding, those will also dissolve. So as much as possible, engage in these two types of meditative approaches to the topic of emptiness. The first of these is to think about their emptiness in terms of that lack of inherent existence. And the second one is to think about their dependent arising, that these objects do not arise independently, but they arise due to the various parts and so forth coming together. These are the two ways to approach the topic. And so when we are engaging in meditation on emptiness, also we talk about analytical and placement meditation. During the analytical meditation, if there are feelings and so forth that are arising, we can note those and that's all right. But when we do the actual placement meditation on emptiness, we need to meditate on that emptiness, that lack of inherent existence, that emptiness single-pointedly, and not pay attention to any feelings or so forth that may arise. And any sort of affliction that arises, we can also think that the object that is giving rise to that affliction, if I were to try to find its pinpointable essence, I would not be able to find it. We also think that the mind creates this object, right? So much of that appearance is created by the mind. It's not coming from the side of the object at all. So if we really sort of in a relaxed way cultivate our wisdom, we will be able to perceive all of these clearly. So thank you very much. That was the brief presentation of emptiness. So please, as much as possible, cultivate this. Oh, Geshe-la.